Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Susan, and on behalf of MH Service, I would like to welcome you and thank you all for joining us today. At MH Service, we work closely with leading technology providers to bring innovative solutions to the digital investigations community. Today, we are pleased to be joined by our good partner, BlackRainbow, to explore the importance of an integrated case and quality management platform for modern forensic teams. We are pleased to have representatives from both BlackRainbow and MH Service joining us today. Representing BlackRainbow, we have Carl Barron. He's the Vice President of Global Solutions and Sales Engineering. Carl will be leading today's session and sharing his expertise with us. Representing MH Service, we are also joined by our COO, Muhammad Awadallah, who will deliver the closing remarks at the end of the webinar. Following the presentation, we will move into a live Q&A session, so we encourage you to submit your questions throughout this session, and we will answer them at the end. Thank you once again for joining us today. Without further ado, I will now like to hand over to Carl. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar. As Susan says, my name is Carl Barron. I'll do a quick introduction to myself and we will get on with the webinar. I'm here today to talk about the importance of an integrated case and quality management platform and how connecting cases, evidence, and quality is a good thing to do. So, quick introduction to myself. As Susan says, my name's Carl Barron. I'm the VP Global Solutions and Sales Engineering here at BlackRainbow. I've been a strategic solutions leader at BlackRainbow since 2017. I have a background in supporting global law enforcement agencies, government, and the enterprise markets. I have a vast experience in digital forensics, e-discovery, and cybersecurity. And I have experience working with our customers in pre-sales, delivery, and client engagement as well. And for anybody on the call thinking maybe I look familiar or if you've seen me at a conference, I did used to work for an organization called Nuix, where I may have met some of you previously as well. So BlackRainbow, for anybody who's not heard of BlackRainbow, we were founded in 2017. With the strategic aim of modernizing complex case management for intelligence, investigations, and forensics. We have a lot of experience across our team in law enforcement, government, and enterprise. And the idea is we are agile in practice. We're a UK-based organization with people all over the globe supporting the mission. And we provide an application called NIMBUS, which is what I'm here today to talk to you about and show you our product as part of this webinar session. So when it comes to case management, when it comes to forensic labs, the idea of having a case management system integrated into other platforms is a very important topic. And it's one we feel very strongly about here at BlackRainbow. So we're going to start off looking at kind of the reality, what this looks like when we go out and speak to people and organizations such as yourselves on this webinar today. So the reality is, if we look at the environment, what does this look like at the moment? So we're going into a forensic lab, and it could be at the environment stage, the legacy systems that you may have in place. They've evolved over many years. They may have been created a long time ago. Somebody in the lab was good at SQL or Microsoft Access. Its case management system or any system, maybe a quality system as well, was developed and it's just being kind of evolved over time and patched up to facilitate the needs of your organization. These department specific, so you might these department specific applications don't typically communicate as well. So you might have a case management within your forensic lab. You might have a quality system. You might have an investigative case management system. You might have a cyber team that has their own system. these department-specific applications typically don't communicate. Other ideas and other things that we have seen as well is that generic enterprise systems have been adapted for forensic workflows. So I'm not going to mention them on today's call, but you probably know the ones I'm talking about. So applications may have been enforced just based on an organization, and you're struggling to make these systems work for you. The other thing, which is possibly the most common one that we do see, is when organizations have lots and lots of spreadsheets, paper records, and manual processes still filling those gaps. So when a system doesn't exist, people using spreadsheets quite predominantly and paper records to fill the gaps when needed. This causes a lot of issues, and that's what we're going to go on to talk about today. And I'm going to show you how Nimbus can support you migrating from these environments. So these legacy and these different environments that you typically see within organizations such as yourselves, the consequences are very straightforward. Well, of course, if you do have different applications across different departments, you're potentially looking at duplicate data entry. If you're getting forensic submissions coming to your lab, you might have to rekey that information into your case management system. This information also is potentially trapped in silos. So when it comes to that information being in a forensic submission form in a Word document, you might have some of the information in your case management system. You might have more information in your investigative case management system. So all of these things are trapped in silos and don't communicate between. Also, there's a lot of manual administration as well, especially if it's a legacy system that's been built over time or you're using spreadsheets or paper-based records. The idea of doing management information and reporting on these systems becomes a very difficult task. Being able to go in and being able to manually administrate these things cause a lot of headaches and a lot of time spent, and actually then increasing that risk of error. So if you're getting a forensic submission coming into your forensic lab on a paper-based document or via an email or via a phone call, rekeying that information directly from that system into your existing case management becomes a bit of a problem, especially when there's a huge risk of error. Maybe rekeying this information, you accidentally spell a subject's name incorrectly, or you add the wrong date and time for the investigation. This becomes a real risk within your organization. Also, reducing that collaboration as well. When we go into labs and a lab has to comply with ISO 17025, you might have a quality management team. You might have obviously a digital forensic team. Using separate system, you're reducing that collaboration. You're not bringing quality as key part of your forensic processes. And you're not kind of supporting that collaboration between those different departments. And again, that's what we're here today to talk about. And finally, if you are running lots of different tools, you're having to support each of those tools with the maintenance supported for each of those tools as well. So supporting the infrastructure, supporting the patching, supporting the support, the maintenance, etc., all across these different platforms. So what I'm going to do is we're going to kind of translate this into a different into a different sector, a different market sector. But first, in terms of the different applications that you may have within your organization, these are some of the ones I've just mentioned there. So if any of these ones ring true, this is a good webinar for you. So if you're having a separate quality management system, if you have a separate digital forensic case management system to a submission form, if you host your assets on a separate register entirely, this is a great webinar for you to watch because I'm going to show you how our Nimbus platform will integrate all of this together. But as I mentioned there, I want to apply this to a totally different market because if we take how a digital forensic lab operates and we apply that to a different market, so if we apply that to the airline industry, It's that time of the year for a lot of us where it's holiday season, we're all going to airports. And if we apply the same logic that we typically see within digital forensics to the airline market, you can probably start seeing some of the issues here. So the first thing you probably do when you're planning a trip, that could be a business trip or a holiday, is you go on the website. You go on the website of the airline, you go to book your trip. Well, imagine seeing this when you go book your trip and you go to pick your seat. Well, if the airline worked like a digital forensics lab, you probably wouldn't have that seat, that airline, that aircraft information attached to the booking process. So therefore, you wouldn't be able to pick your seat. The system wouldn't know which aircraft is going to be allocated to the flight that you're going to be taking. So instant disconnection between the two. Not knowing which aircraft means you can't pick your seat. Well, we've done that. We've booked our plane. We've phoned up. We've done the manual process of picking our seat a little bit later with the manual processes. We then get to the airport, and then we see the departure board with lots of cancellations, lots of delays, etc. Because these are complicated environments in the airline industry and collected and connected systems. So behind the scenes, having all of these systems not talking together, minor minor issues within that process, maybe additional administration, maybe additional processes, lead then to large delays, cancellations, etc. So this is what we see within a digital forensics lab. If you're running in all of these different silos, it's just not as apparent. Also, when it comes to aircraft maintenance, the aircraft maintenance staff are not having to pull out multiple pages of documentation, all of the reporting, all of the manuals, all of the key maintenance records, knowing when an aircraft's going to come in for maintenance, etc. Because all of these systems within a more mature industry like the airline industry are more connected together. And the final piece is you get on the plane and you walk onto the plane, you look left into the cockpit, and you see the pilot checking to make sure that he's trained and competent to fly the aircraft. This just would not happen in this industry, yet within digital forensics, this is kind of what we're doing. We're not connecting these different areas together. And integrating these platforms for that streamlined process. And that's where Nimbus really comes into its own. And this is what we're going to show today, is how these things are connected together, and then how Nimbus can support you within a digital forensics lab. Why it matters from digital forensics perspective. Every investigation depends on lots of different things. Lots of different things make up an investigation. It's not just getting a hard drive or collecting some data and then doing things with that. There's lots of things connected. That could be the people involved, the people who are doing and carrying out these investigative activities. Are they trained and competent to do so? Have they been on the correct training? The equipment that you're using, the assets, the hardware, the software, have you kept that up to date? Have you maintained those assets? Have you calibrated them if required? Also, your processes. How do you carry out an imaging task? Well, that will be a standard operating procedure. That will be a process that everybody in your lab follows. That all builds up this investigation. Also, the governance side. If you're working in a highly regulated industry, or if you're going through accreditation or anything like this, you typically have audits. You'll have management reviews all as part of the day-to-day work that you carry out. Also, how do our labs actually improve? How do we learn from the good things and the bad things within our labs as well? So, building on continuous improvement within your digital forensics labs. And finally, then the assurance that the work that we're carrying out in our lab is to the highest standard. How are we managing our risks? How are we looking at proficiency testing, etc. as well? And these are all of the different things that you generally quite often forget about unless you're having to go through accreditation, etc. And one of the things when it comes to Nimbus, and one of the things we try to pitch to anybody is even if you're not having to go through accreditation, if you're not having to go through ISO 17025, it's a worthwhile task to have a look at that standard and to bring in some of the key learnings and some of the good parts of that ISO standard within your day-to-day work. So the people on the call, if you've never heard of the Nimbus platform, the question is, what is Nimbus? Well, Nimbus is fundamentally a case management system that's designed for complex operational casework, investigations, and quality processes. Today's webinar, we are focusing really on digital forensics, but Nimbus does a lot more than digital forensics. All of our customers, our customers span law enforcement, government, and enterprise. When I'm talking about that, that could be digital forensics, that could be traditional forensics, i.e., wet forensics, that could be overall investigations, that could be cyber incidents, that could be insider risk, insider threat, intelligence, the escalation from intelligence into investigations. So Nimbus as a platform can grow with you as an organization, and it covers lots of different use cases. As I said, today we are going to be looking at this through a digital forensics lens. But if you do work in an organization where you support any of those other activities that I previously mentioned there, feel free to reach out to us, IMH Service, and we'd be more than happy to talk you through some of those different scenarios and how Nimbus can be best utilized for those. So Nimbus as a case management is a single source of truth. It has all of that information. So it tries to reduce double keying. It tries to integrate with other platforms. It's your central hub for all of your case information, your exhibits, your evidence, any decisions, all of your outcomes. All of that is stored within the single platform. It gives you that visibility over all of that information, all of the workloads, the priorities, the ownership, etc. Who's doing what and when. That the system gives you that improved visibility, that single pane of glass into all of this information. It gives you the capability of doing consistent processes. So being able to follow through configurable workflows, templates and tasking, all of that is found within the Nimbus platform. We are going to talk about it today. I'm going to showcase some of these key features, but that stronger governance piece where all of the information is audited, everything you do within the system is audited. You have all of the permissions applied into the application. The system does give you that approval. It does give you that ability to record a digital chain of custody as well. And to wrap all of that up, it does give you that capability of reporting. So being able to generate reports, management information, dashboards, etc. And then finally, the quality is built in. So the quality management system is built into the application. So the casework that you're carrying out is directly connected to the quality work that needs to be recorded, registered, and understood as you go through the actual investigations and the work that you carry out. Okay, so let's have a look at Nimbus itself. So let me just close out that user interface there. And you should now be able to see my screen. Oh, sharing has stopped. Let me share my screen again, sorry. I will share this screen here. Perfect. You should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So this is Nimbus. As I mentioned before, Nimbus is that integrated case quality management system. In terms of the Nimbus application, this can be deployed in your environment, in your lab. You can host this in the cloud, or we can host this as a SaaS solution. It's a very simple deployment method. It runs Microsoft SQL behind the scenes and a front end of IIS. So really robust, good technology that scales nicely depending on your workload. The idea of the Nimbus application is then as soon as you have access to a web browser, then you can gain access to the Nimbus platform. When you log in, you have access to the feature set, the cases, and all of those different areas that you need access to. The system has a robust roles-based access to it to allow you to lock down either certain features, certain functionality, and also certain cases as well. In terms of the Nimbus platform, you should be able to see it on your screen here. The Nimbus platform is a really simple to use interface. Again, all very, very configurable within here as well. Today's demonstration, I'm going to focus on some of the key links between case management and quality management. I'm not going to do a full demonstration of the system. If you do want to see more of the system, feel free to reach out and we'll be more than happy to show you more of the overall feature set within here. But as you can see from this main user interface here, this user who's logged in has access to not only the case management functions, but also the quality management functions, inventory, the staffing areas, so being able to record assets and being able to record staffing, training history, competencies, etc. Also being able to record your hardware, your software in the asset module. And we're going to show you these today as part of this demonstration. One of the big things when it comes to case management is that visibility, is that oversight, overarching view into all of your management information, all of your reports, all of your statistics. So I'm looking at an overview here of an overall dashboard of all of my cases in the system. I can instantly see core metrics such as numbers of open cases, the status of those cases. How many exhibits do we have and what's the status of those exhibits? If I look at my staffing tab, I can see across my team who has the most allocated cases to them, actions, tasks, all of those different types of things. These dashboards are fully configurable, so you can go in, you can customize a dashboard, and you can create the management information that's important to you. So if you ever get asked questions relating to the information that's stored within your case or quality system, you can instantly gain access to those dashboard items, as you can see here, and you can instantly gain access to those metrics. Each user has their own dashboard, so you get a dashboard, an out of the box dashboard when you first deploy Nimbus, but you can go in and you can configure that for your preference. So if you're manager of the lab, you might want to see certain things within your dashboard. The other thing you can do is the often case of when you're working in a lab is you get asked a question. So that question could be how many cases are currently active, or how many cases have we received in the last 7 days, as an example. So what you can do is if you navigate here to the left-hand side and I go to my cases list, this gives me a table view of all of my different cases. So you can see all of my cases listed here. These table views are fully configurable. So if you're coming to Nimbus from a spreadsheet, as an example, and you're quite familiar with the idea of using spreadsheets with columns, with rows, etc., these table views give you that capability. So being able to instantly from here, being able to filter down and say, I'm only interested in cases where the status is active. We can see those cases here. And I also want to apply additional filter of cases that were created in the last 7 days, as an example. I'm not sure if I have any. I don't in this instance here, but I can quickly change that if I want to. And I could say in the last 12 months, as an example. That gives me those cases which I can see, which are currently active, that were created in the last 12 months. You do also have the option of choosing what columns go into the table view as well. So being able to instantly remove columns. So engagement code here isn't utilized in this environment. So I can quickly remove that from the table. And as you can see, that has now been removed from the table. You can also export this information. So if you do want to put it onto a spreadsheet, you can export this information. You can also save these searches as needed as well. So the system gives you this robust management information platform where you can easily get the data into the system, but also being able to easily get this information out of the system as well. So within the lab, when it comes to working through caseloads, etc., one of the first things that you might wish to do is you might wish to allocate either a case or an exhibit to an individual user within the lab. So as an example here, if I go into case management and I go into demonstration case one, which is what we're going to use for today, I can see my overall case structure here. So I can see the people who's involved, any exhibits that may have been collected, any additional information related to this case. I can also see some timelines related to when things have been collected, who they've been allocated to, etc. as well. But as I mentioned, one of the things we might look to do is we might look to allocate this information to an individual person. The common use case and the common process for this would be to simply have a think who's busy, whose workload will allow for this. Also, we know this person's quite good at this thing, or this person has recently been on this training course here. Well, NIMBUS takes that guessing out entirely. So when it comes to allocation of work, as I've shown you previous, you can instantly see who has the most workload, what does our balance of people performance and people workload looks like, but also being able to configure and have a look at who is trained and who is competent to carry out this certain task. So as an example, I might be looking for a certain skill set to allocate this case to. Or if I navigate on the left-hand side here and I go to my exhibits, I can see I've got multiple different exhibits here. I've got some phones, I've got a desktop computer with a couple of hard drives that have been removed and a USB stick. If I'm looking to allocate this hard drive here, CB2 as an example, and I click reassign, I might be looking for a certain skill set. Maybe it's encrypted, maybe it's a specialist skill that we're looking for within the team. Well, instantly I can search my users based on training history or competency. Because NIMBUS is storing your training records, any competency checks, all of that gets recorded directly against the person and then against the task itself. So here, as an example, I might be looking for somebody, and I created a demonstration competency here. So if I click demonstration competency, I can see these two members of the team are available to take this work based on that certain competency. I might be looking for somebody also who has the advanced acquisition competency or training as well. And we can see here Liam Walker is the selected person here because he has those two competencies. If I click select, click save, that will allocate Liam Walker to that task. He will get allocated to that exhibit. Liam will get an in-application notification to show that he has been allocated to that task. The reason this all works is if I just take a step back up to the top level and I go to my staffing area here. So if I navigate to my staffing area, it's a dedicated area to manage your training, your competency checks, any conference attendances, any court appearances, all of that gets recorded directly into NIMBUS. So if I go into here on this left-hand navigation here and I go to my competencies, I can have a look at an overview of my competencies, or I can quickly just go to all of my competencies. The one that we just used there was the demonstration competency. We can see this demonstration competency requires a demonstration every 12 months. So if I navigate into that, I can see who has this competency, who has been trained, who's been recorded against this competency. And I can also look at my demonstrations as well. And because NIMBUS is a fully featured and functional quality management system, it's going to automatically line up those competency checks for you. So if this is every 12 months, we can see that we did Liam's competency yesterday that he completed on the 12th of July. It's automatically lined up his next check for the 21st of July. So the system's automatically lining this up. It's automatically notifying you. It's automatically scheduling all of that information. So you're not having to do any manual work. You're not having to update a spreadsheet and then schedule it in the future in people's calendars. You're not having to remember who's got competency checks, who needs to go on what training. The system is lining all of that up for you throughout this whole system. And that goes into that sort of that recording and that registering of Liam being allocated to that hard drive there to carry out a certain task. So let's stick with that hard drive here. Let's stick with the hard drive. It's as you can see here, it's a Western Digital Green 3 terabyte hard drive. That's currently in box 1. It's awaiting imaging at the moment. So we need to carry out imaging on this. And you can see because it is CB2, It is a child item of this Alienware R16 computer that we've seized. So the system records the parent, the child information. So if you are removing hard drives out of things, or if you're removing any sub-exhibits, the system does allow you to record that. So as an example, we might look to carry out a certain task now on this hard drive. The first thing we can see is in box 1. So we might look to move this into the lab so we can start working on it. So I can right click, I can go to exhibit, I can click move, and then I can choose its new physical location. The system has a full inventory management. Everything in the system has a barcode, a QR code, or a data matrix. You pick which one you use. The system generates the labels for you, the adhesive labels that you can stick on these items, and the locations themselves. So as an example, if I move this hard drive onto my desk, I could simply scan the hard drive and scan my desk and move it directly onto the desk for this imaging task. In this example, I'm going to choose it manually. I'm going to select in lab, and I'm going to select that it's on bench 2. I'm going to update the location. I could choose if I'm going to hand it to anybody. So if we are doing a handover exhibits, we can do that in here. We can also sign for that item directly in here. So it's going to record that digital chain of custody. If I click save movement here, that's going to then move that item. And as you can see here, CB2-2 is now located on bench 2. So that item has been moved over and it's now ready to carry out that work. If I want to see the chain of custody, just open that item in another tab here. We can see all of the technical details for this exhibit, make, model, serial number, capacity, as I said, its barcode, its QR code, etc. I can also see the exhibit movement there as well. So you can see that I moved this item from box 1 to bench 2, and I can click view and I can see all of the chain of custody, including my signature at the bottom there as well. So the system's supporting all of that chain of custody in a single platform, so you're not having to use a different property management system or anything like that. The system has all of those robust features built in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start imaging this hard drive here. So typically what you could do, take the hard drive, record your imaging task, maybe on a piece of paper, in your contemporaneous notes. You then go back to your case management and update that update the information within the case management system itself. That leads to duplication of information. It leads to potential risk of errors when you're recording that information. It also has that risk of not following your standard operating procedures. So within your lab, you might have a standard operating procedure on how you want everybody to image hard drives, using certain tools and certain processes as you walk through, making sure you record each area of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this in our workflow builder. So if you have standard operating procedures in your labs today, or you're looking to implement standard operating procedures, the workflow template and the workflow area is going to be brilliant for you. So let me show you an example workflow that I've created for this demonstration here today. Workflows are fully configurable. You can go in and you can choose the workflow steps, what you need to do in the workflow, your conditions, your updates. Also the capability to link this into forensic product as well. So it gives you that capability of automating different digital forensics products, etc. So this is what a workflow looks like. Very easy to step through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what this looks like when you carry out this process. So on CB2-2, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to workflow, add workflow, and I'm going to select the acquisition workflow. This is going to step me through the process. As you can see here straight away, it's asking me to select which acquisition tool I want to use. So in this example, I'm going to use Xway's Imager. Does it require a hardware write blocker? Yes, it does. What you'll notice then straight away here is it's asking which asset to use, which hardware, which piece of software to use. It's also checking my competency. So I could either block somebody from carrying out this task, or I could ask for a peer review, or I could, in this example, warn this person. So if this person has not completed the required training to carry out this task, the system can automatically either put a stop to it, warn that person, or ask for a peer review. If, as an example, Xway's Imager version 21.9 has an issue and we don't want people using it, the system allows you to remove versions out of use. So the user cannot select that imaging software when they carry out this task. Or as an example, a write blocker, maybe one of your T8Us has gone away for maintenance. You can remove that straight away, so nobody can select that within here accidentally. What this example here is, I'm going to select my write blocker, T8U. I can confirm that it's working. So taking your standard operating procedures, and these are some of the questions that you may have on a piece of paper that you get people to record. Well, the system's going to build that in for you. So was the source drive successfully detected? Yes, yes, yes. As I can see here, I can record that information. Was the acquisition successful? Yes, it was. It's then asking me to reseal the package. So it's asking me to reseal it. I'm just going to confirm that due to timing. And it's then going to ask me to move that item back to the store location. So again, building in these gates, building in these quality checks as we work through these different processes. So you can take any of your forensic processes that you may have, either if it's a manual task or if it's a fully automated task, and build them into these workflows. Behind the scenes here, I'm going to take a step back up to the top level, and I'm going to show you what this looks like from an asset perspective. If I go to my asset area here, we can see all of our hardware, we can see all of our software, we can see all of our licenses. So the system's going to track any license renewals. It's going to check all of your versions, software that you have. It's going to record all of your hardware, your asset tags. All of that is going to be recorded in here. So as an example here, I might want to see my T8U that we just used. So the T8U that we just used here, I can click view, and the system's going to show me every time that that hardware write blocker has been used in operation. I can see who's used it. So if I'm writing a business case to say, hey, we need more hardware or we need more software, this gives me that capability of instantly being able to see that, and the system's tracking and linking all of these things together. Typically, these assets would be listed in a spreadsheet somewhere. You wouldn't have a good handle on license renewal dates, utilization of software, utilization of hardware, maintenance records, etc. NIMBUS has all of those areas built in directly here. Just taking a step back up to the main screen here, one of the other things to identify is the inventory as well. So I'm going to use my barcode scanner. Got a little handheld scanner here. I'm just going to wait for it to wake up. What I can do from here is I can click scan, and then I've got a barcode on my desk here, so I can scan that. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to my inventory area. I'm scanning that physical location, that box, selecting the box, clicking view, and that's going to take me directly to that box. So if I'm doing an audit, if I'm auditing my inventory, I might want to quickly go in, see what items are currently located there, so I can quickly see the contents. So these are all of the items that are located in this box. I can also, if I'm doing an audit, if I have a discrepancy, in this box, maybe we have too many items or we don't have enough items, what I can do is I can go to the movement area. This then tracks every movement in or out of your storage box or your lab locations, your benches, your imaging benches, your shelves within your inventory, your storage areas. This then gives you that capability of being able to export that and say what moved in and what moved out as well. One of the other big areas is regarding portal. So NIMBUS has the capability of hosting a portal. So as I mentioned prior to this, I mentioned the idea of forensic submissions coming to you via a paper-based Word document based submission system, or even a total system entirely. Well, the NIMBUS portal can be deployed to support you on this. So the idea being is it's a configurable portal where you can go in and customize and add your field into here. And then this gives you that capability of being able to send your investigators down the path of being able to record the key information into your forensic submission. All of this information then is fed directly into the core system. It goes into the queue. So it manages all the way from forensic submission into the overall platform. One of the big things that I wanted to highlight here, though, is a big thing from organizational learning and improvement is the ability to record feedback. So you go and you order something on Amazon or any other web store, it's going to ask you, hey, how did we do? How are we doing? Nimbus Portal gives that capability. And any of the information here, so any of the feedback that you receive, will go directly into the quality area of the system, directly into the feedback area. So you can see what's being found in terms of positive items, negative items, what feedback have we received, who have we received it from. You're going to see all of that in a single pane of glass directly into the product itself. One of the other things you might look to have in one of the big areas that you might have is documentation. So you're going to have lots of documents. You're going to have lots of user manuals. You're going to have lots of standard operating procedures documented. Nimbus does give you that built-in document library. The document library allows you to host any documents that you may have in a typical folder structure that you would expect. It gives you that capability of version control. So if you write a procedure, you write a document, Nimbus will support you on version controlling that, sending it out for review, and then instantly publishing that so people can access it. So as an example, if I go into here and I go into digital forensics and I go into my manuals, and I'm going to go into X-Ways because that's the one I looked at earlier. If I click on my X-Ways user manual, you'll be able to see that directly in the user interface. So when I was carrying out my task earlier in the workflow, you can have the documentation directly aligned with the work that's getting carried out. So instead of this being hosted somewhere else in a different platform, it's all hosted directly in the Nimbus platform as an overall. As I mentioned right at the start, Nimbus is a feature-rich application. I've just shown you some of the little pieces, some of the little nuggets there that you might look to introduce within your labs to reduce risk as an overall, reduce double keying, and integrating some of those quality aspects. And as a summary for the product, Nimbus is a feature-rich application, fully configurable, so changing terminology, drop-downs, lookups, etc. It has an integrated case and quality system that integrate and ties the day-to-day tasks that you carry out in your forensic lab directly with the requirements of ISO 17025 if you have to do that. If you don't have to do that, it allows you to build in some of the great things from that standard and being able to record your assets, staffing, etc. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to switch over to my final slides, and then we're going to go on to a little bit of Q&A. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully you should be able to see that again. Just check on my screen. Cool. So in terms of overall benefits, as I mentioned, it's a single system. You have one source of truth. You're not going to different systems, having a look for your assets, having a look for your submission forms, having a look for your audits. Everything is stored within one system. It's one source of truth with metrics and MI across everything that you do. Quality is embedded throughout the case lifecycle. So all of the good stuff from a quality perspective, making sure people are trained and competent when they're carrying out certain tasks, making sure our hardware and our software is maintained, all of that is embedded throughout the case lifecycle. It's not an afterthought. You gain full traceability all the way from receiving your evidence, your exhibits, forensic submissions, all the way through to the outcome and all of the reporting. You're reducing the administration and greater efficiency as well because you're bringing in a single platform. You're reducing the overhead of administration, you're double keying, etc. The system is audit ready and accreditation ready by design. We have lots of our customers who have been through accreditation. It is an accreditation ready system. It's designed exactly for this use case. And as an overall, if you are a lab manager or if you're an examiner within in the system or within the lab, sorry, you're getting visibility, you're getting good visibility over performance, workloads, any risks, any quality matters that you may have as well. So I'm now going to hand over to Mohammed, who's going to say a couple of words, and then we're going to go on to QA.
Thank you so much, Carl. I will just start from the point. BlackRainbow is not only a case management system, it's four-in-one solutions. So it's also covering the investigation, the intelligence, the forensic part. So it's covering the case management, quality management, document management. It's a huge system. If you are looking for EI system, if you are looking for automation, BlackRainbow is the right solution. So before I start with the closing remarks, we have a few questions here. I will read them and Carl might answer them. The first question, does the system allow you to generate forensic reports, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have forensic reports within your labs at the moment, you can absolutely upload those templates. Those templates get loaded into the system, and the system can read any of the information that's been recorded. So Nimbus gives you that capability of clicking a single button and having your forensic report written from all of the information stored in the system. We try to make it as easy as possible to get information in and out of the system. From an investigation perspective, if you're writing a full case report, the capability does allow you to generate those investigation notices, any investigation reports as well, in the same way as a forensic report. So absolutely, yes.
Thank you so much. The second question, does Nimbus have an automation capability built in, basically to build a workflow and then it is carried out automatically using EBI from tools, more specifically digital forensic tools like Celebrite and other tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was showing the workflow earlier, within that workflow, you can trigger off what we call an automation step. Nimbus has an automation framework behind the scenes. What this allows you to do allows you to combine manual tasks like selecting which software you want to use, the settings that you want to use, and the system will then trigger API calls or PowerShell scripts or Python scripts, whatever you have within your organization. So allowing you to connect it with forensic tools or any other tools, really. And then that allows you to automate those processes. A really simple one that we see day to day with all of our customers is when a case is created in Nimbus, I want to automatically have a folder structure created on my file share. I want all of those folder structures to be automatically created and then with the correct permissions set. So yes, absolutely, there's an automation framework built in.
So the third question is one of the customer concerned and saying, currently we have a separate case management system and quality management system. If we were to switch to Nimbus, it's possible to migrate the data. So he's worried about data migration.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something we see all of the time. So all of our customers are generally coming from an existing system. That could be spreadsheets, that could be a database, that could be anything. It could be paper-based even. Absolutely. One of the key things when it comes to Nimbus is you are going to be able to migrate that data. What that looks like is obviously customer dependent and system dependent as well. We have done lots of data migration in the past. It does come with a warning label, i.e. making sure that you only migrate the data that you need to migrate. You're not going to bring all of this existing information if you don't need to keep it, retention, etc. All of that can be brought across directly into the platform. Another thing to note here as well is integration as well. I don't think I mentioned it during the presentation here today, but yes, absolutely. Nimbus has an API. So it has an open API where you can trigger automatic creation of entities within our system. So this gives you that capability of automating, but also integrating with other platforms. So if you have a ticketing system at the moment, or if you have another case management system from an investigation perspective and you're working in the forensic lab, instead of having to double key that information, obviously the right option there is to integrate directly with it and bring it in. But yes, in summary, migrations are a big thing that need to be thought through, but absolutely can be achieved. And integrations and automations is a big factor when it comes to deploying Nimbus as well.
Thank you so much, Carl. The next question, in case of any update for one of the assets, one of the softwares, will Nimbus notify the customer to download those updates? Will Nimbus get the information about this software updates from the third-party products as well?
Interesting question. So in terms of the versions, etc., the typical use case there is the new versions will be downloaded, they'll be tested, they'll be recorded on the system itself. With some automation, you could get the system to automatically check for those updates, etc. But typically, when it comes to new versions of software, they will need to be considered, downloaded, tested, and then added onto the system directly. When it comes to using of a new version of a piece of software, if you want to take your old version out of life, in terms of turning it off so nobody can select it, Nimbus supports that. So Nimbus will allow you to say, this one is the old version, this one is the latest version, ongoing, I want everybody to use this version. Nimbus will support that process.
Thank you so much. And the last question, can Nimbus also be used by an internal DFIR team in an enterprise settings where they want to create support tickets, tokens, and then resolve them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any internal, that said, we have lots of different use cases, lots of different scenarios that Nimbus is used for. I didn't go into it today's session so much, but the system is fully configurable. So your drop downs, your fields, your metadata, etc. So there's an out of the box deployment that you get from a Nimbus perspective, but to utilize Nimbus for internal teams, DFIR, absolutely. And it does support then the permissioning between as well. So if escalations between the different teams, Nimbus will support that as well. If an existing ticketing system is already in place and that needs to maintain, we can link into things like Jira, ServiceNow, etc. as well.
Thank you so much, Carl. Yeah, we are close now to close the session. Thank you so much on behalf of the BlackRainbow team and the MH team. And I would like just to share my screen. We are joining the World Police Summit in Dubai. If you visit our homepage, you can go to events and you can see the upcoming events. One of them is the World Police Summit in Dubai in November. BlackRainbow will be in Dubai. The team will be here to showcase and be in touch with the customers directly, especially Dubai Police team and Abu Dhabi Police team. And as well, we are hosting the FT Day in Germany in September. So everyone is welcome. You can go to our homepage, FT Day, and register and attend the event. Moreover, we will upload the recording to our YouTube channel, MH House of Forensics. So please subscribe, and all our webinars, all our videos, promotion will be on our YouTube channel. Thank you again, and see you in the next webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, the team.